This meeting is being recorded. Hey, welcome back again, guys. I hope everyone is having a good day. We're with Oscar again, and just continuing on, the political issues that are affecting the world. I think, Oscar, without further ado, you can start.
Yeah, I was saying there's
Mm-hmm.
there's something called an Afrobarometer. One
Okay.
that was done in 2019 says that most, nearly three-quarters of most African people, young people, probably between the age of 18 to around 35, most of them want better and more accountable governments. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and if you think about Africa as a democracy, then you don't really need to look at the democratic definition as it's given by the Western states, because
Mm-hmm.
democracy, as they say, is government by the people, of the people, for the people. That whole thing. But the everything has to. If people choose a leader who is tough and who does not play into the cards of the Western countries,
Mm-hmm.
they are defined as dictators. But
Mm-hmm.
in most cases, for instance, I love what Kagame has done in Rwanda. I mean, yes, he has stayed in power for so long, but what's the cost of that? The cost of that is that Rwanda has gone so far ahead in terms of how they are looked into by how, even in African politics, Rwanda has changed its image in the world. Kagame has been so vocal about certain issues that have put Rwanda on the map. When we come to countries like South Africa, we have, as much as it's democratic, we've still seen their growth. Nigeria, we've seen its growth, because Nigeria, Kenya, and South Africa are one of the top five economies in Africa. And for me, we normally see democracy as a destination, but democracy is never a destination. Democracy is the journey where, yeah, even America didn't get to where it is today. All since the end of slavery, since the Civil War, the end of slavery, they haven't changed most of their laws. They haven't changed most of how they approach the minorities. It's still the same. There's a lot of racism in the U.S. There is a lot of bad rhetoric in the U.S. So for them to be able to come and hold Africa accountable and say that Africa is not democratic, then that is a failure of definition on their side, because Africa happens to be one of the most multicultural continents in the world, because we have tribes, sub-tribes, and sub-sub-tribes, where each of them has to be fully satisfied for them to have a peaceful coexistence. And also, I believe the journey for democracy in Africa is good, because most African countries are not over 100 years in since independence. America has been in existence for over 200 years. What have they really achieved? Yes, they have a good army, but the cost of all that is that the democracy is now on the decline, and yet our democracy has, yet we have seen a rise in authoritarian regimes in Africa, but that has not stagnated or reduced our growth in democracy. A lot of young people want change in Africa, and you can see that by how social media and actually COVID-19, in a way, gave that a boost to African countries, where most African young people have been connected through Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. This small,
Mm-hmm.
it might seem so mediocre that a Kenyan can retweet something that is happening in Uganda. A Kenya can retweet something that is happening in Morocco. A Kenya can retweet something that is happening in Nigeria. For example, end SARS, the migration issues that were happening in Morocco, in Spain. So Africans have always been on the footing, the point where before, when Black Lives Matter happened in the US, most African states, most young people in African states started holding their police accountable. I think after BLM, that's when we started seeing even police being prosecuted in Kenya for bad behaviors and ill treatment of human people. So that again, that small, the world is becoming more of an international village now. Whatever is happening in the US will be known by a person who lives in South Africa. Something happening in New Zealand is going to make its way all the way to the UK. Whatever is happening in a village in Ukraine will be understood by a person who is living in the most remote areas in Kenya, because I mean, our apps are changing how we look at the world, and also innovation by itself is bringing in a lot of changes in how we view our political systems. Again, just to take us back to the initial like argument, talk about Russia and Ukraine, we have seen the fact that the grain that was coming from Ukraine and Russia that was supposed to find its way into Africa was delayed for a couple of years, months. That has led to most African countries trying to figure out their own ways of making their their agriculture economy way better. For instance, Kenya has found a way of using some charcoal bombs to plant trees in Turkana, which again, for every problem there has a solution that lies in with it. Because COVID came, most people were laid off. That's when we saw a rise in agricultural businesses. Joshua, you're from Kenya, for instance, all the way from Garden City, not Garden City Mall, all the way to Rivers. People could park their cars, G-wagons, Mercedes, just to sell items such as cabbages, oranges for like a whole year and make money out of it. Most people are now into agribusiness. We've seen the rise of Twiga foods, the rise of people are able now to go even shop in supermarkets and buy green foods that are even cheaper than you would find them in kiosks. So COVID had, I think the new world order wasn't brought by the invasion of Russia into Ukraine, but the emergence of COVID as a
Oscar,
pandemic, because it has.
but even when you speak about democracy, I'm not even talking about African only. I'm looking at also how how authoritarian has gone everywhere. If you see even in countries like Europe, you see Canada, what they did with the truckers. You see the Russian invasion. Oh, that's kind of some authoritarianism. You see you see how China has taken its zero, COVID policy uh, way serious. Like there's been this push of authoritarianism. Even countries where we thought, that democracy was so strong and so vibrant. You see how Joris Bonson handled the the COVID time through lockdowns and everything, but he was having parties. You see how the French government has handled the yellow vest protest. Any kind of protest against the government. This kind of authoritarian, going back to kind of system is not only like in Africa, but it has become like the quick fix solution to things that the world is going through. And this model has many people accusing China of bringing this model because China has been like the has been like the leader in showing people democracy is not just the only way. You can also do this other thing, especially during COVID, how they handle the COVID so efficiently. How they build I don't hospitals in 30 days. Like and through that authoritarian move and the lack of bureaucracy in China, it has been a model to admire. Because if you see how Canada handled the truckers, even going after their bank accounts and everything. You see how the American government is handling protesters, again, French and all these countries. Start asking yourself, even the champions of democracy seems to be wanting a little bit of authoritarianism. They seem to be wanting that kind of I'd say governance. You see what has happened in Pakistan, what's happening in Pakistan. You see what's happening in India, especially in the Kashmir contested areas. You start to see are this country really moving back or really interested in some kind of an authoritarian kind of of governance. And we've seen how I think that's why I think like the democratic fabric is it's reaching its limit and to most countries. But there has been this projection that it's on us so heavily because people are tired of bureaucracy, things taking time, things taking slow. And that's what comes with democracy. Democracy is because you have to hear the views of everyone. People are starting to prefer the the kind of authoritarian role.
Josh, let me read something for you here. Indeed, the new authoritarianism is distinguished by recognition that absolute control over information and economic activity is neither possible nor necessary. These regimes have developed methods that allow them to guide and manage political discourse, selectively suppress or reshape news and information of political consequence. This unsquelch, co-opt, or parasitize the most important business entities. The priority is political control, and any societal actor that is prepared to acknowledge the supremacy of the ruling group and comply with its directives when called upon is free to operate with a certain amount of autonomy. But the extent to which citizens can exercise their rights depends not on the law as established by freely elected representatives and enforced by impartial courts, but on the state of the relationship of the relations with the leadership. Loyalists are rewarded, enemies are punished, the neutral are neglected or casually abused, and all of these labels are assigned in an arbitrary and capricious manner. So, if you look at that particular statement, in a way, it defines what you've just said, that most countries are heading into that authoritarian, let's say, control of political factions, political discourse, and everything. But there's a, I think, I believe there's a silver lining for this, because the relationships that are being formed, as much as we're seeing those the rise in fascism, have have a lot of belief in international relations, diplomacy, and all that, because even as China is as big as it is to its own people, there are certain things it can't do, because that's, yeah, it's going to crack down on activists and everything, but there's a level of, let's say, of violence and perversion it can never get to, because at the end of the day, countries now have adopted the idea that we're no longer an independent state per se. We are part of a
right,
global system. We are part of a global system, and the minute we start attacking people the wrong way, we lose business. For instance, today I was just reading an article that says the EU has proposed to ban Russians from traveling into Europe.
Now, passport ban, visa.
That might seem like something easy, but that's something really bad, because Josh,
that's gonna hit Russia bad.
Exactly. The minute you are bound in your own country, then that means you guys will never grow. And that is, yes, again, if your passports are banned, you've been given sanctions. Over time, people are saying that Russia has been able to fight these sanctions, but no offense, these sanctions are taking a toll, slowly by slowly. Because, for instance, the oil that they were selling at a cheaper price, they were selling oil at a throwaway price, not the way they would have wanted to sell it and make better profit. But since they're in a process of war and in the process of they want to make quick money, now it's easier for them to sell the oil at a throwaway price, make money, and fund the war. But now most companies have left Russia. Most countries don't want to deal with Russia at the same time, because they're fearing backlash from the whole international community. So this again brings in the idea that as much as there is authoritarianism, the balance of power that manages those particular states is now in the hands of the global system. Whatever happened in Sri Lanka, we have seen if the effort citizens are willing to take, because whatever happened in Sri Lanka has never happened in the world again. It was the first of its kind, and it has set a precedence that if you as a leader go beyond what you've been given, because at the end of the day, even if you are authoritarian as you want to be, you are there because people either fear you or they let you be there. But when they decide it's
mostly it's because they fear you.
Yeah, when they decide it's time for you to go, whether you kill 1 million of them, you will go. You see, and also we are seeing a lesser and lesser interest of young people into politics. Young people want to travel. Young people want to enjoy the world. Young people want to experience new cultures. So if you ban a whole generation from moving from Russia, and if they're banned from going into other places, because I mean, most flights, most countries in Africa wouldn't want to mess around with the EU, because EU happens to be one of the biggest markets for African products. Not even Russia, not even China. It's the EU that buys a lot of African products. And to me, I am seeing this as a really nice opportunity for Africa to to take advantage of this, because there are new markets everywhere now. The realignment of alliances has given an opportunity for African countries to like exploit. For instance, China is facing a lot of issues back home in its own borders. There's a collapse in the housing market, in the real estate market. Companies are leaving China, and also this is the time when Xi Jinping is about to be given whether he's going
President
to
for life,
his term or he's going to be reduced. But now we are seeing the fact that that plus, Josh, don't forget one thing: the more you compound fear on people, the more you compound fear on people over years, there's a time it's going to explode back to you, whether you like it or not. And that's why, for instance, you're seeing how democracy works through Iraq and Afghanistan. The US left. You're seeing the Taliban taking control of the country. At first, they banned all women from going to school. Then, over time, after political discourse, political communication, political steps that can't be made in like overnight, we are seeing young women being allowed to go to school, but in separate schools. We are seeing women being allowed to go back to work, which over time it's going to yield. They're going to find their own way. We look at Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia, you wouldn't have found a girl in class. Yes, they're still tough, but you couldn't have found a girl in class. But again, now you can even allow women to go to campus. They even allow people to even party.
They're now even socializing with men. They're not.
Yeah, exactly. So the main idea of authoritarianism, and I believe that one thing that has also put again fascism at hold is what is happening in the US, because I believe if Trump is to be indicted, and if Trump is to actually lose and get hit by the January 6th committee.
But don't you feel that's deeper than fascism? I feel it's the deep state establishment. They don't want Trump to run again. They want to find him.
Josh.
Yeah.
Honestly speaking,
I feel the trial is not fair. For me, I feel like they don't. Biden and the establishment fear that Trump might run again.
Josh, I don't think it's about the deep state, because let me ask you a simple question. What is happening in for me, what's happening there is the best definition of what it means to have independent institutions.
No. Independent institution is a lie, because
just wait. You see, when Trump, when he was vying for presidency the first time, he attacked Clinton on how she handled her emails, right? Now, so today, Josh, let's say you want to join a school, yeah? So you join, let's say you want to join USIU, for instance. So you join USIU, you finish your 4 years in school, but then there's a law that every other person has followed, and it's part of the institutional requirements of USIU that once you finish, you have to return everything that you found that was in for USIU purview. You leave it in school as you leave out, right? So over time, we have seen Trump change how he's talking, how he's posting his social media onto social and all that. But over time, even on Republicans, conservative Republicans, and not MAGA Republicans, Josh, conservative Republicans. And to me, I see that Trump has brought out the biggest I think threat the world is facing in terms of democracy: fascism. Not even authoritarianism, Josh. It's fascism.
But me, the issue with the American politics, I feel it's not even about. I feel there's a lot of politics, especially the deep state, because Biden was in Joe Rogan's podcast, and he said the reason he didn't publish about about Biden and his son, the laptop scandal, is because the FBI came to him and told him not to do it. So. And this was Zuckerberg was saying. So it means the reason they are just attacking Trump is because they don't want the guy to run for office, because he's going to take over the presidency. There's a big system, of deep state that's, this debacle of Trump, people might take it as trying to prove to people that America is not democratic. In fact, this debacle has proved that America institutions are very, 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 very compromised. There is no democratic sphere. You say about Hillary Clinton, the email. No FBI person has arrested her. Hillary Clinton is not answering it. The emails show clearly that there was a planned coup to overthrow the Gaddafi government. You know, George Bush is still walking scot-free after doing what he did in Iraq, Afghanistan. So I fail to understand why, you know, when it's the issue of Trump now, you know, America is democracy, you know, and why is it happening now when Trump is about to declare, you know? And if Trump is really that bad person, why are they afraid that, you know, the midterm election, the Republicans may take over the, you know, the Senate and the House? So there's a big, you know, there's a big corrupt scheme being played around here that people need to look at it very, very carefully. And that's what I'm saying, you know, America is at a position where its democracy is very, very, it's in a position where its democracy, people never used to question American democracy, but now it's very, very questionable in terms of how things have been being handled in America.
And I think, George, for me, I am, honestly speaking, I've never really been interested in American politics, but I think they usually set they kind of set the standard of other countries and how they are viewed. And for me, what I don't really like about, no offense really, but what I don't like about Trump is that
no. I also have my own issues with Trump.
Just wait.
I'm not even cutting. I'm saying I also have my own issues with Trump, but I'm saying if the law is to be followed on Trump, it has to be followed on everyone.
Exactly.
So that's my issue.
And I think, George, the main issue that most Americans, I think, even some, for instance, there's the governor, the man who's vying for the sitting in Texas for the governor, who's going to fight who is competing for the governorship in Texas, has been meeting people door to door, and from there, there has been a lot of transition from how conservative Republicans in the past are now going to vote as Democrats in this particular primaries. And even in these new primaries, Democrats are actually winning. They've gone beyond Trump. Even the Senate now is shifting towards the Democratic side because Biden has had a lot of wins. Most of those wins.
Those are polls. Don't listen to polls. Also, American polls are very skewed.
Just wait. Josh, just wait. I'm getting to why I'm saying that.
Okay.
You see, most of the chips that are used to make computers, all this electric stuff were being made in China, right? So Biden passed a bill to bring everything back home to the US, right? I don't believe in polls, really. Polls are just public opinion, but they're never real because at the end of the day, people will change today I might wake up this way, tomorrow I'll wake up in a different way because polls are never a sure way of, let's say, classifying how people will vote or anything. But however, this is not about polls, Josh. This is how, even if you look at the conversations being held by most politicians in these common halls where they go sit down and ask people conversations. We are seeing Fox News. Fox News has also said that if, for instance, as you've said, if the law is to work, it has to apply on everyone, right? So I believe that the biggest issue that is happening in the US right now, it has proved to the world that democracy isn't an easy ride. Democracy is not a destination that America thought it had reached to. Democracy is rather a journey that you have with each regime comes with its own challenges. Each president brings along its own challenges.
And also America has oligarchs like Russia. There are people who control the system.
True. And also one thing that I think most, even if you look at, for instance, this guy, he's a Republican. He's a MAGA Republican. He recently said that there will be, I think Michael something, Clowell or something. He said that there will be riots when Trump is indicted and he's taken to court, blah 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 blah. But in the main reason he said that, and he's been quoted before saying that the biggest threat to America is not that they don't want. I think nobody wants Trump to run because I think when you look at,
because if you look at it, Oscar, realistically,
just wait.
Democracy is letting everyone run fairly and win. Even if the guy is Trump and you don't like him, if he has run and won, You have to, that's the whole point of democracy, you know.
Josh,
yeah.
One of the people I've always loved as an American president, in my own case, was George Bush. George Bush was a Republican, right? He was pro guns, pro everything. But there's something Bush had that I think no other, even at that time, Putin could not have questioned Bush in any way, because Bush had his own way of getting. He had a tactical mind. He knew politics. He knew how to play the game. None. Obama, nobody could have played with America during the time of Obama. But once, in my opinion, once Trump got into power, he started running the US more like a company where it's all about making money. And as much as they did make money, none of it actually got to get into the long-term kind of basis. And I think that's where even on Republicans now, most of them are changing. Not Josh, this is not about polls. This is something that has been done real time. Most of them are saying that they're going to vote as Democrats these elections, then go back to being Republicans, because
but I thought like 1 month ago Biden had the lowest ratings of all presidents in the, you know, because
it's gone up because of what he has done. Like, for example, that Climate Change Act.
No, but that act cannot just change the polls, because you remember during Trump time, Trump, you know, Trump brought so many businesses back to America. You know, America had the highest unemployment rate in one of the highest in its history. So that's what I'm saying. It's better we wait for the election, and then the election will tell us the truth.
As of yesterday,
as of yesterday,
Biden's approval ratings rebounds to its highest levels yet. Because what has happened, Josh, is this, at first, when people could talk about what's happening in the sixth hearings and everything, most people didn't even want to believe that Trump actually didn't win the election or something like that. People thought that he won. But then over time, people have, after the hearings, Josh, people have talked truth. Even his own aides, his own people who have worked with him, even you've heard his own children. Even Jared Kushner had said something that shocked the world. The daughter, the niece, because the whole idea, Josh, is this, people undercut Biden because of how he's always been losing. He's like Raila of Kenya, like he's always lost. But then he got to his seat at his like oldest bit of age, but of late he has done a lot, because he has beaten Trump in the jobs allocated, especially in such a tough time during COVID. He has done a lot of things that have beat the Trump cabinet, the Trump government. And as you can see, when Trump was in power, China could have made jokes on, or could have made threats in regards to, for instance, when China said that they will shoot down Pelosi's plane when it got to Taiwan.
But can I ask you a question? But can I ask you just a question? Because you were trying to say Biden has appeared powerful, but I feel in the international, he has appeared. No, but he has made America become. Let's remember that Biden visited Saudi Arabia the other day, and even the crown prince didn't even meet him at the airport. Even how the exchange, there was no even welcoming. Trump visited Saudi Arabia the other time. There was a big welcome. Just a bit. The other day I was reading an article that most Gulf countries now, are now becoming, they're not playing, the Western bidding anymore. They are trying to diversify their investments. Saudi Arabia is about to sign a deal with China that will allow Saudi Arabia to sell fuel with their yuan. Like, the article was saying how America is losing its grip on the Middle East. Middle East is moving away to Russia, China, to all these other countries. Remember, before Trump, there was no tension that we are seeing now between Taiwan and China. This tension now has been created. Now China is determined to take over Taiwan through military action at whatever cost. Pelosi was there last week, a senator was there, and this has been happening through Biden time. Through Biden time, even now, Vladimir Putin is feeling comfortable enough now to even, attack Ukraine, when you look at all these things happening, I fail to understand, to see how has Biden made the Americans strong. I feel like in the international arena, he has just, it has been a catastrophe after catastrophe in terms of, in terms of foreign policy, everyone, America has signed a charter that recognizes that China is the one true state, and then again it's arming Taiwan, which they know.
Yeah, that's true. But let me cut you short and tell you one thing that has, well, even when during Bush's time and Obama's time, most of them identified Taiwan and China through the one China policy, and the whole idea of the invasion of Ukraine did not start just during Biden's time. It was in the works for a long time. And to me, what I think Biden has done, because as of today, Taiwan has shot, as of 5 hours ago, Taiwan has shot back at China, because what happened during Trump's time, his approach to politics was that of, let's say, of Putin, where he approached it in more of a fascist and authoritarian type of approach, where if you read the book by Trump's niece, she's called Mary L. Trump. She defines Trump's reaction to challenges when he finds a problem. Instead of trying to do like to find the where he can actually deal with the problem, he prefers adding fire into the problem, wishing that the fire will burn the whole problem out. But in most cases, it has backfired to him, even in his own business dealings, even in his own family as well. And that is how Trump was approaching every single thing, how he was taught by his dad and some other conservative Republicans when he was small. Don't agree to a mistake that you've done, approach it, add more fire into the flames, let it burn, let it burn, let it burn. But now something interesting is happening, Josh. I think people are just looking at it from no offense, from a Trump type of perspective, where nobody could have been able to invade like Taiwan and all that. But now look at it this way. China once, when Russia invaded Ukraine, it has not been able to take over Ukraine. Even if it has a bigger power, it cannot take over Ukraine because of how the world views of how the sanctions and how Biden has done. He has approached it in a long game type of way, because China wants to invade Taiwan, but there's no time Taiwan could have ever thought about shooting back to China, right? Now they are doing so. Now this, Josh, is actually, this is balancing power. This is not defined as balance of power, because now Taiwan is taking a stand on its own, and whether Chinese want, believe it or not, China will not be able to take Taiwan, because already whatever is happening in Ukraine and in the US, especially on the chips bill that Biden passed, on the Climate Act bill that Biden passed, most of them have taken a lot of dependency on China, Russia, and these other countries. And the fact that US has now been able to revive its Asia-Pacific relationships like the way it had during the Second World War, it has brought a different, let's say, spirit into the Asian Pacific. And now most countries around China have seen it build islands to other countries just to find a way to, or to find reasons to invade those particular countries. So most countries in Asia don't want that supremacy that China brings, that total control that China wants to have in Asia. So to me, I'm seeing Biden bringing up to me, I believe he's the last line of how we view independence and how we view sovereignty, especially in these countries that haven't seen or tasted sovereignty in a long time. The fact that when he was asked about Pelosi visiting Taiwan, he didn't even make any comment. He just let it go. But
he said he doesn't advise it. The military doesn't advise it.
Yeah, because that's but at the end of the day, you can't save a country without the authorization. Josh, at the end of the day, a country, the president has the final say. She used items by the U.S. Navy, so those are, he's the commander in chief. There are things that he'll sign off at the end of the day. No. But now, for me, Taiwan has stood its ground, and the fact that we're seeing this happening, Josh, it speaks volumes about his approach to international relations. He has made new alliances.
But don't you feel like there's also a possibility Taiwan is being used as a pawn, like the way Ukraine is being used? Because between this superpower game of China against America, you know, Taiwan might be used as a proxy, and then at the end of the day, Taiwan will get destroyed, but it will afford the American war. Because Taiwan, either way, even if it stands its ground, it will be totally destroyed by China. And then it will, all America will do is just apply it arms, because as long as America is not involved militarily directly, it means Taiwan is a pawn like just Ukraine. Because sending arms is not enough.
Just have a question. The US has been able to be unbeaten or undefeated in military tactics because of let's say of its approach to war. For instance, they were never to win Iraq, or they were never to win in Afghanistan. The whole idea was just to pillage and get oil, right? Get the gold in those particular countries. War was just a means to an end. But now look at what those 20 years have done to the American military. They've been able to invest so much money, which has brought about so much growth in technology that has been used to be applied into the next space, into the next race to colonize space. Now, Ukraine didn't have a lot of technology when they started, when they invaded. They didn't have a lot.
But can America now afford a two front between another superpower and Russia and another superpower?
Putin himself said, this era, countries cannot go to war the way they used to go to war back in the day. You send troops. It's impossible to win a war with troops now. Now it is either cyber warfare or something else to destroy other economies or something like that. And honestly speaking, if China wanted to take Taiwan, it could have done it a long time ago. And George, it was about proxy war. Proxy war is what used to happen in Syria when the US could fund these rebel groups, or what happened in Libya. But this is something else, George. This is like you know, like how in school you were taught that the last step for a country to be called sovereign is international recognition, right? That's why Palestine.
So you feel this is the last step for Taiwan to be now?
This is their way of the fact that now Taiwan has been able to put its foot down, because Taiwan has never done this. The US is just sending aid in terms of military help, which, Josh, you should really look at it. When we send you drones, when we send you arms, we're sending you arms not just to use them, for you to study them, for you to look at them in a different light. And this has given a certain level
I think time is about to end.
Because, for instance, let me
finish.
I'm going to share an article with you after this, and I would like for you to look at it in a different light, because once China staged its biggest military setup to invade Taiwan, and Pelosi went, yes, Taiwan is still small. It cannot compete with the Chinese military and all that. But Josh, this is how countries, this is how democracies are. I mean, this is how countries get that recognition. Because trust me, the same way Russia had to go to diplomatic negotiations with Ukraine, that shows that Ukraine now has a voice in the international arena, Josh. You see?
Okay, I think we'll continue on the next one. Thank you, guys. We'll continue on the next one.
Oh, hey.